Hello, welcome to the Brighter Kashmir interviews. Today our guest is a world reputed immunologist and a molecular medicine scientist. He has not only served in Kashmir, not in India but outside India. He is currently holding the position of Vice Chancellor, Islamic University of Science and Technology, Avantipura. Welcome to our show, sir.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So, apart from your this assignment as a Vice Chancellor IUST, you have served at many positions in Sikkim also, and you are running you are doing a wonderful social service work in Kashmir. So how do you differentiate your this position as a current position as a Vice Chancellor, Islamic University of Science and Technology, and your this social service, and as a reputed immunologist?
I started my career way back in 1980 when I became a scientist with the central government organization called as Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, and thereafter I continued my job at Sher-e-Kashmir Institute of Medical Sciences as the teaching faculty, and I rose to the position of chairman of the Department of Immunology and Molecular Medicine in the same institute, where I served for almost 28 years. And during these 28 years, I was a hardcore scientist. I worked on table, and in between I spent more than 5 years abroad as a postdoc fellow, as Humboldt scholar, as Humboldt professor. So actually my aim during that period, that was 1980 to 2012, which is almost 32 years, it was mostly concentrated on the immunological diseases, and especially came in between the HIV disease, which is called as the AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. And I worked in the area of AIDS and molecular genetics for a long time, wherein I produced a good number of publications. I produced a good number of students with PhDs, and some with MDs, some with MS in surgeries at the Sher-e-Kashmir Institute of Medical Science. And that was my contribution, because I was supposed to do a research as a scientist. Then I taught at the Sher-e-Kashmir Institute of Medical Science. I taught even some of the universities in Japan as well as in Germany, where in Japan I was earlier, between 81 and 83, I was a postdoc fellow in the Chiba Medical School, Tokyo, and I taught thereafter in Japanese universities. I taught at the German universities. So this was my basic job for which I was trained. As an immunologist during my postdoc fellowship at the Chiba Medical School. So immunology is a very wonderful subject which I enjoyed working in. And immunology, even under the present circumstances of COVID, immunology is at the forefront. This immunology deals with vaccines, even vaccine manufacturing, even vaccine designing. All this comes under the immunology. So that was my job. Now you're asking me, how do I make a balance between this job and the social service that I undertook. I took a voluntary retirement from the Sher-e-Kashmir Institute of Medical Sciences in 2012, although it was almost 5.5 years earlier than my actual retirement. And that passion was basically to help the poor people for their healthcare needs and for the educational needs. So therefore, when I moved out of the medical institute in 2012, we created a good organization under the charitable trust named as the Tuam Charitable Trust, and we pumped into money, which was our family money, and we created a family trust through which we are still working, and it's a very successful venture, social enterprise, I would call it. That was a passion with the family that we should help the poor people who do not have access to health care or who do not have access to education, if our trust can come in between this. So in 2016, while I was working for this trust, there was a search committee which ultimately ended up with my selection as a Vice Chancellor. So that is a brief how during the past almost 5 years, less by 2 months.
What came to your mind to shift from your this immunology field to academic level?
Basically, education is education. I was a medical teacher. I was a teacher in a medical school, a medical university, Brighter Kashmir Institute of Medical Sciences, a deemed medical university. So teaching is basically a passion in the family. My father has been a principal. My father-in-law has been a professor of mathematics. My wife is a professor of mathematics. My brother is a professor of biology. Probably it is a kind of a family, passion to work in the education sector. And when I gave basically when the position for the Vice Chancellorship of this university was open, we were asked to give a presentation before the search committee, and I gave a presentation what's my viewpoint about education, because in Germany especially, while I was a Humboldt scholar at 3 or 4 universities, I got an idea about how education can be a very world-class education even in the Indian context. And I had those ideas which we definitely adopted and implemented in the Islamic University of Science and Technology during these 4 years plus.
But sir, academic level is something different from the administrator. Now you are a Vice Chancellor of the the Islamic University. So how do you feel while putting yourself in as a administrator?
You see, that's true, but it is an academic administration. So whatever experience you gain during the period of almost 3 decades that I had, or for any other Vice Chancellor who heads any university, it is the experience that you gain while teaching. You are head of the department, you are the chairman, you are the dean. So all these are when they ultimately you combine the experiences together, it makes you very good individual with sensitivity of administration. So administration is nothing other than how to implement good ideas.
So what my question is this: the moment you put yourself here in this as an administrator, but it was in the nascent stage of the university was in the nascent stage, because there was a lot of hurdles you have to face, and there was a lot of things to do to improve the standard of the university. So what you thought that time, I'll go according to the wishes of the students, according to the wishes of the people of the Kashmir, according to the wishes of the administration that time. So my concern is regarding that.
That's why I again come back to the same thing. Whenever you hold a chair of a Vice Chancellor, it is an academic administration position. You should have a vision and you should have a mission of your own. One is that you have a vision of the university, which is already defined. It is defined by many statutory bodies for every university. But as an individual, when you come as an administrator of the university, you should have a vision of your own. So I had created that vision. How to do that? Then mission is how you strategize that vision, how you make strategic interventions to make it happen. So therefore, we created a good team of academics here in this university, and with the support of that team, we worked almost day and night to achieve where we are standing today. If you are talking about the Islamic University, if you look at the university about 10 years earlier, it was a different university, and if you talk about 5 years earlier, it was a different university, and today when you enter the university, it is totally different. So therefore, this means we put all our heads together me, my team of deans, my team of heads of the departments, my faculty, so that the student is the first, I would say, stakeholder in the university, and he becomes the beneficiary.
So he is a, you mean the student is having a pivotal position in the university. What were the major areas of excellence of this university?
You see, how I worked in some of the good universities of the world. What are the ingredients of a center of excellence of a university? If you look at these Ivy League universities, whether these are Harvards or these are Cambridge University or non-Ivy Ivy League universities, Cambridge and Oxfords, what makes the best university? That is what we adopted here. One major component of what makes a best institution of higher learning is how good is your human resource, how good is your teacher, how good is your researcher inside the university. Because it is he or she who is a teacher in a university that makes a university an excellent university or a bad university. So therefore, second part, what constitutes a good university is a good infrastructure. We worked at the Islamic University of Science and Technology, we worked on both the components. We had already good human resource, but it had a deficient human resource in terms of the faculty.
Sir, I left you here interrupted, but the university is having a limited area. So do you think that was the hindrance in your working?
To some extent, yes, because we had a very small land mass, but during the period, my period here, government has already allocated another 1,000 canals of land to the university. We are building up the residential, spaces there, including hostels and the staff quarters and some academic blocks. Yes, hindrance is there always, because during this period of my vice chancellorship, we got a lot of support from the state government, from central government, from different departments of the central government. We got a lot of funding, and if we had a space available, we could have attracted more funding. But because we did not have the land mass, so we had to limit our attracting more funding. But nevertheless, we are at this point of time, after these 1,000 canals of land have been handed over to us, we are in a position now to expand our activities in that landmass.
Funds are always hampering the activities of any institution. So do you think there was any sort of this fund paucity in this university?
No way. I would simply say no, not at all. I mean, I was supported, this university was supported by the state government, whether it was headed by the Mahbooba Mufti ji, or it was headed by Mr. Satyapal Malik as Chancellor, or it was by Mr. Murmu, or now the Mr. Manoj Sinha. Whatever proposals I have taken to their offices, I always got a support from them. In fact, we are this time in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, we are the highest performer so far as infrastructure built up is concerned.
But the faculty, academic faculties are very limited here. So how do you how do you think about this?
Academic faculty, what you are talking about is I inducted around more than 70 teachers which were based on open merit system, transparency, accountability, and the merit. So we have already achieved quite a good, I would say, percentage of the permanent faculty in the university, which has gone more than 50%. When I joined, it was only 30%, but now we have more than 50%, which is a permanent faculty here. Now, rest of the faculty, which is non-permanent, I'm sure we are going to have one more advertisement, and we have the funding for that also from the state government, so far as the salary component is concerned. So therefore, in another 3 to 4 years, this university will be definitely the best university in the Union Territory.
But the one thing is, this university is lacking in the residential university.
Yes.
So do you think this affected the growth of the university?
It was lacking, but now if you will visit it by the end of May, we have created the residential spaces. Girls hostels, 2 hostels are built up already, and there are girls which are already residing in those 2 hostels. 2 boys hostel with a capacity of 700 bed strength. are being handed over to us by the end of May 2021. So that means 2 months from now onwards. So therefore, this university by an act is a residential university, but at the same time we had deficiencies of the hostel spaces, but by the end of the May we will have at least 1,000 capacity to have the residential spaces for the boys and girls. Then we have also already constructed, which is due for now allocation to different staff members, teaching as well as non-teaching. We have a 16 apartment tower which is already handed over to us by the contractor. So we are actually on the path of making this university as a full-fledged residential university. We have been already approved 3 more hostels by the state government, which will also take another 18 months to complete. By another 2 to 3 years, this will be completely residential universities. We have a roll of around 4,500 students at this point of time. So we are trying to achieve all these residential spaces by another 2 to 3 years.
You have been successful in establishing some good laboratory infrastructure. What about the standard, especially at the PG level?
Yes, we had the engineering labs and the science labs, which were not as equipped as should have been, but we attracted the funding from the MHRD under the TQIP, that is Technical Education Quality Improvement Program. We got a very good funding from that, and we were able to equip our all engineering labs and the science labs through the funding of this, which ran into several crores of rupees. And you will be definitely happy to know that this university this time is one university which has the high computing lab, which is not available in any institution, including our sister universities or even technical institutions like NIT, where the computing capacity is high, and we are going, that is available in the IUST this time. So therefore, we have achieved most of the infrastructure built up during these 5 years.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, just tell us about that, because the university is still striving to make the academic and administration fully ICT enabled. What is your take?
This time it is still, again I would say, we have the best ERP available. ERP means that we have a best portal, and every student has access through his portal to the university facilities, whether they want to avail hostels, they want to avail the transport, because we run about a huge number of buses, and if they want to avail the transport facilities, they don't have to come to any office, they have to avail it through online systems. All our examination is on ICT based. I mean, all our examinations are on the portal. So most of the administrative procedures are on portal. So even file movement, we are trying to put file movement from one office to another on the ICT. So that is on the base on the administration front. But this COVID definitely taught us so many lessons, and most of the universities in India are not as yet prepared to give best what we should have been able to give to the students on the online platforms. Hopefully now the 4G is available, we will be able to standardize the online teaching learning systems more effectively.
So Mr. Vice Chancellor, do you see any erosion of autonomous functioning of this university under new administrative setup?
No, actually all universities work under statutory bodies, and we also have a class of statutory bodies. We have a finance committee, we have academic council, we have executive council. We have taken decisions in these councils where we have members from outside the university. They have been in fact very helpful in shaping up the policies that I had to execute. So most of the executive council decisions were taken independently. I wouldn't agree that my autonomy or the university's autonomy has been compromised at any level.
Do you think this Islamic universities are different from other universities of J&K or especially from the Kashmir University?
It is unique on one count, definitely. It's a more technological university. It is a science and technology university. That is why its name is Islamic University of Science and Technology. Whereas other universities have not been mandated to do only science and technology. So therefore, in that case, we are unique. But at the same time, what is uniqueness with us is a very high academic accountability, which we have brought in. Accountability means, whenever we take any kind of credits, those credits are accountable in the sense of that we monitor whether those credits were taught. So therefore, we are unique in many ways, especially in the academic reforms that we had during these 5 years.
What is your plans in future to uplift the this university?
This university should expand its academic activities in the same areas of science and technology. We have this year, through the academic council, taken a bold decision to have a constituent college of our own, because the new technologies that are coming to the world, like artificial intelligence, data mining, we have machine learning, we have Internet of Things. All these newer technologies that are coming, we are introducing at the undergraduate level, at the constituent college level. Probably in another 2 months' time, we are operating the constituent college. It is already approved by the academic council. It will go to the executive council for its final approval. Once that happens, so these technologies which are coming, which are called as, usually termed as disruptive technologies, they need to be adopted in this university, because this should become a kind of a front runner for introducing new technologies and the academic courses based on these new technologies. So my take on the future plans of this university is to adopt all the new academic programs which are coming under these disruptive technologies. We have already introduced a new center here, which is called as Watson Crick Center for Molecular Medicine, where another disruptive technology, that is gene editing technology, is being introduced. So we have already three Ramlingoswamy fellows and Ramanujan fellows who have spent more than a decade in United States or elsewhere. They have come back and they have joined us. So therefore, the future of this university is on the basis of how best we will adopt the modern technologies, especially the disruptive technologies.
So my last question to you is, are you admitting students from outside J&K in this university?
The admission is open to all, including international students. As of today, we have 3 international students. 2 have joined hardly 2 days back from Angola. So therefore, university is not limited only to Jammu and Kashmir. It is open to all other states as well. It actually depends upon how nowadays we brand this university in the entire mainland India. So if we are able to brand it over a period of time to the mainland students, therefore you will have a more diversity in the studentship at the campus. It is important to have two types of diversities. One is the student diversity and another is the staff diversity. So on both things, if universities have to build up their own reputations as well as new academic plans, the diversity has to be on the campus. So if unfortunately we lost around 27 international students who had joined us in 2019, but because of that abrogation phenomenon that led to unrest in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, they had to move out of the university. They had already joined us, so we had already 28 foreign students in the
So it means
campus.
it will go up.
It will go up. We have again, encouraged the ICCR, Indian Council for Social Research. We have asked them to send us more international students. That is the organization which India has, authorized to take foreign students. I think 3 or 4 have already joined, and we are expecting many more. We have actually given admission to probably 10 students, offered admissions. Now it is to be seen how many of them will join. 4 have possibly joined. 2 Angolan students have joined recently.
So what is now emerging among the students in Kashmir? We must say in Kashmir, because now the trend is very bad. So these students and youth are indulging towards the drugs. So how do you see the situation, and what steps will you take to curb here in this university?
True, it's a major phenomenon across the world, the drug abuse, and in Kashmir also we have a share of it. And before 2019, we had created a nice system at the university wherein we had utilized the services of clinical psychiatrists as well as clinical psychologists to have a mental health counseling center here. And it was operating, and we had hired the expertise of Professor Mushtaq who was coming on every weekend here and counseling the students for this. And with that background, we also have approved a course on clinical psychology for the university, so that we have a group of clinical psychologists who can treat such type of drug abuse issues. There are so many other issues which are of mental health nature. So therefore we will activate that, and I'm sure with the introduction of the clinical psychology as a course here in this university, we will be better placed to have the drug abuse issues resolved on the campus as well as outside the campus in the South Kashmir.
Thank you, sir, sparing time for this show. Thank you, sir.
It is pleasure. It is always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you, Vani sir. Thank you.